Hello everyone, welcome again in Eng-Man YouTube channel. So in this video, we will continue our pressure transient analysis series. And today's topic is about bounded or closed circular boundary. Okay, so if you perform pressure transient analysis, maybe you are quite familiar with this boundary model, closed or bounded circular boundary. Okay, and this is the model. So you have a producing well there. Okay, and then the well is, located at the center of a reservoir, limited by a sealing circular boundary. Maybe I'm going to change it to pen. So this is our well. Let's say it's a producing well, and it's located at the center of reservoir section. So all of these are the reservoir zones areas. But this particular well has a drainage area that is limited by a sealing circular boundary. Okay, it's a model, it's a simplification. So somehow this well has a limitation or has a limit that follows a circular boundary. And then if you perform pressure transient analysis, let's say if you are analyzing the drawdown period, then when you go to the log-log plot, you will have a plot like this. So let's first with the drawdown, okay? Here on the right picture, we have for the horizontal axis, the elapsed time, let's say in hour logarithmic. And for the vertical axis, we have pressure and pressure derivative. Okay, yeah, pressure and pressure derivative. So if you perform, let's say, well testing or pressure transient analysis, and then you focus on the drawdown period, then you will have a trend like this. First, of course, the early time you have wellbore storage, and then you have this hump, and then you enter the middle time, and then you find the radial here, a horizontal line there. It's the radial flow period. And then after that, the derivative will deviate. And at the late time, you will have increasing trend like this with a slope of 1. Okay, the slope for the drawdown period for a well with a closed circular boundary will have at the late time, the pressure derivative will have a slope of unity, the slope of 1. So the slope here is 1. It's very clear, it will be 1. Okay, not half, not 1/4. No, it's exactly 1. It will be very clear if you have this type of reservoir, closed circular boundary. And not only for the pressure derivative, but also for the pressure trend as well. At the late time, you will have increasing trend like this with the slope of 1. Okay, so it's quite easy to distinguish this type of behavior in the log-log plot. Okay, so again, if you perform pressure transient analysis while testing, you have drawdown period, you have build-up period. First, you analyze the drawdown period, and then you focus on the late time. If you have increasing trend for the pressure and pressure derivative, and the trend or the line have, slope of unity, then it's a behavior of a closed circular boundary. And then after that, you go on to continue the analysis by focusing on the build-up period. Okay, then you will have a trend like this. If you focus first on the pressure trend, then the pressure will be stabilized. Okay, so you can see this blue color for the pressure trend. The pressure will be stabilized. Okay, because now it's a build-up. The well is shut in. Okay, and the presence of the boundary, the circular sealing boundary now is felt by the well, okay, of course you will find the pressure to be more or less constant because now the well is shut in, okay? And if you have constant pressure and then you take derivative on that period, of course the derivative will fall to zero. That's why you will have for buildup pressure derivative to be like this. It falls down to zero, okay? Okay, so of course, it's a very clear if you are performing buildup, then the late time period or late time behavior of the pressure derivative will fall to zero like this. So it's very clear. Unfortunately, if you have a well close to constant pressure source, then the behavior of the late time period will be also like this. Okay, the pressure derivative for a well close to constant pressure source, the pressure derivative will also fall to zero. And you will find like difficulty to differentiate whether your well has a closed circular boundary or your well is quite near to constant pressure boundary. But that's topic for another day. Okay, so one last thing. You might wonder, is this model even realistic in nature? Closed circular boundary, is this realistic? I'd like to think that why not? Okay. For me, closed circular boundary is, of course, realistic. Many of things in this nature will have, by nature, circular shape, circular form. So I think that it's also quite normal, it's quite natural if a particular well somewhere in the world will have closed circular boundary. And practically speaking, if you are not very clear about the boundary of your reservoir or the boundary of a reservoir section close to your well, then I think, practically speaking, the first assumption that you can use is, of course, the closed circular boundary. Okay, that's the first guess, that's the first assumption you can have when you perform pressure transient analysis if you are not quite clear with the boundary, with the shape of boundary of the reservoir section close to your well. Okay, so I think that's all for the closed circular boundary. Thank you so much for watching and see you again in the next pressure transient analysis series. Thank you.